But I think he regards me as the only writer of my generation, naturally enough, that he can make any headway with at all. With him, it's more a kind of ubi sunt theme, that, you know, the good has gone and all the greats are in their grave and only this rabble, scum, remains.
Oh, thank goodness for the rabble. What writers do you most admire?
My twin peaks are Nabokov and Saul Bellow. Two very different kind of writers, but both, curiously, Russian Americans, I think you can say. Bellow, there as as a child, almost as a baby, but a Russian. What happened to Russian literature? It became absorbed elsewhere, and although Bellow is much more, I mean, writers tend to, some writers are closer to books, some writers are closer to life. These are the sort of the magnetic forces operating on a writer. All writers have something to do with both. Bellow tends more towards the life, Nabokov to its written expression, its written forms. But together, I think they make they fill the sky for me.
And you, in that polarity, where do you tend?
I don't know. I think I'm oddly placed. I think I'm pretty 50-50.
Is Bellow a sort of literary father figure to you? You have a close relationship with him.
No, not close. I mean, we're fond of each other, and we write to each other, and we see each other once or twice a year. No, I have a father, and a literary father.
There's a passage in your real and literary father's novel, Stanley and the Women, where a character tears up a copy of Bellow's most famous novel, Herzog. How did you read that passage when you read it?
Well, I think I remember he was consulting me about it, saying, I want him to rip up a Bellow novel. Which one should it be? Which is the most famous? And I said, well, I tossed him Herzog.
Do you like women?
Yep.
Do you like women as people?
Yes. I mean, I don't see, apart from, in the realms of pathology, how one could feel otherwise. The biological interdependency of men and women is so thorough and pervasive. There are, I have met men who don't like women, but they seem to be extreme cases. I think you can like women in without being a model of political piety. Without feeling a great pressure of false consciousness in how you're supposed to like women.
Critics say that in at least some of your fiction, you treat them misogynistically, as bits and pieces that men use. Do you recognize that?
No, and I know from the letters I get from my women readers that they don't recognize that either. I tread on dangerous ground often. I go into areas that set alarm bells ringing.
Such as?
Rape, enslavement, intersexual enslavement, obsession, and so on. It's also true that there are very few model citizen women in my novels. But all this has to be balanced against what the men are like in the novels. They're much worse, Nick, really. And also you'd have to ask yourself, what a model citizen woman would find to do in a novel of mine. There would be very little to occupy her.
There must be many points on the gamut, though, between sex object and model citizen woman.
Well, there are frumps and hags in my novels, too. What there aren't are fulfilled career women with 3 children.
Might there be one day?
I shouldn't think so.
Why tread in dangerous areas?
It's not a decision. One does not. The great Leavist era, the Leavisite era, was to think that it was a moral choice, the writer's choice of his material. It is not a choice. It is not a selection. It is a recognition. It's just, you can feel it in the daily round of your sentences and your perceptions, that certain things come your way, certain things adhere to you. This is your area, this is your share of the truth.
In some of your books, there's almost an obsession with bodily functions. Others have remarked to me, with pissing and vomiting and sweating. Do you put all that in because you feel that other writers leave it out and shouldn't, or because it just comes to you?
No, there is in fact not a concentration on those things in my books. Perhaps in the first 1 or 2, but this is just something that people expect so firmly that they see it when it isn't there.
The books are more about sex than about love, or not?
When they deal in love, it tends to be of a stylized kind. We have to remember that what I write are comedies, and love has to be mockable to find its way into a novel of mine.
The books are set in cities. Are you happy in cities?
I get the horrors anywhere else, really. The sight of a green field makes me feel very alienated, and it's more that way round with me. I do like to get out of them, but a city is on the leading edge of one's experience and of the contemporary. I know I couldn't write anywhere else but in a city.
You write dazzlingly. Does it come easy?
Some bits do. A lot of a writer's time is spent not being dazzling, or certainly not dazzling oneself, but purging the prose of false quantities, of little repetitions, awkwardnesses, stubbed toes. And that feels like hard work. But when a comic paragraph comes your way that gets your juices flowing, then no, it doesn't feel like hard work.
Do you write every day?
If I can, every weekday certainly. I like to write every day. I feel